What is up and good morning everybody, welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Today we're going to do a quick guide on Wolverine. He's not a super complicated character, so this will be a pretty quick guide, but I did just learn today that he actually does maximum health damage, which is something that a lot of people didn't, I think, know about him for the longest time, because it doesn't actually show up in any of the in-client descriptions of his abilities, or here it doesn't say anything about maximum health or anything like that. It just says based on rage accumulated, and it can get a little bit crazy. So we're going to go through his basic abilities, talk about some things you might want to do on him, and then we'll call it a day. So starting with, I guess, his passives, I think would be a good place to start. So as you can see, this little indicator in the center of my screen, it's like the 12 and the two little claw mark things. I'm taking damage here, and I'm getting 3 rage every time I take damage. You also build a rage when you do damage, so as you can see, that meter's filling up. Once you get to 100 rage, that's going to be very important. That's where you're going to do your maximum amount of damage. If you've ever played like a warrior class in, I don't know, like an RPG or any kind of MMO or something like that, you should be familiar with this rage concept. You want to be operating at 100 rage as much as you possibly can. It's very, very important. So his left click, I guess we'll start with the left click and then we'll go through and then we'll come back to his passive. But so his left click will just be these 4 claw strikes. Hold it down, very, very simple. You can tap fire it too, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you still do the end little delay thing where you can't use it again. So pretty simple. His right click is just this dash, so dash forward, do a little slice thing. Both of those will scale off a rage as well, and your left click actually will do percentage health damage based on the rage you have. So as you can see, we're going to be hitting a lot harder than we were initially, and go from there. His left shift is this like cannonball thing, so you do this like smash, you hit like an impact area, that sort of thing. If you use it right next to a target, you will actually pick them up and slam them. Something to note about this is that you do have to be really close to the target. So if I use it from like right here, I go right over this target and there's nothing I can do. You have to be pretty much hugging them, and you can grab, slam, and get rocking and rolling. The other cool thing is that you can actually strafe a little bit when you're doing this too. So if I aim in like a straight line, I can like steer it and end up way over here, even though I was in a straight line. So it's interesting to be able to move things in not a straight line, make yourself a little bit more unpredictable, that sort of thing. The other thing about his left shift is that when you pick someone up and slam them down, your auto attacks go from this little 4 claw strike to something a little bit more exciting. So you have this for a brief amount of time. So you just pick them up. Didn't see, that's a situation where the hitbox is a little bit yikes. So you pick them up, slam, hold down left click, and you'll start cutting them up. You'll build a ton of rage doing that as well. So definitely something you want to do. In combination with his dash, so your right click, you can like right click past the target, and then you right click, pass the target, pick them up, bring them back into your team, which is something I've seen a lot of people do on this character, and that can be very, very strong, where you can just kind of go, catch someone out, and bring them into a situation where they are going to get demolished. His last core ability is his E. It's just this little shout animation. You can see the timer over on the right hand side of my screen. It's just a 5-second countdown. I will be taking 50% reduced damage during that little timer right there. So very, very good, especially when you're initially going into a fight, maybe at the start of the game or something. You haven't accumulated a whole lot of rage. You're not doing a whole lot of damage. You don't have any of that stuff built. Just make sure that you live long enough to get to that 100 rage threshold where you can really start pumping. His last basic ability is his ultimate. It's just like this quick knock up around you, and then you'll float in the air a little bit, and then you can reactivate it, and you will slam down in an area, and that again will do damage based on the amount of rage that you have. Going up to a ridiculous amount of a percent increased damage actually when you have 100 rage. So that will hit very, very hard. Something that is important to know is that, again, like I mentioned, it's percent health damage. So Venom is one of the tankiest characters in the game, if not the tankiest as far as health pool. But if you do this at full rage and you start cutting him up like this, I mean, he is not living more than 4 seconds of that, and that's just your damage. So pick him up, slam down, I mean, that is absolutely shredding tanks. So very, very cool. If we do the same thing on this target, it feels like these targets don't even go down. I mean, they go down at about the same speed, you know, sort of, but you can get a lot more value. Again, this is like maybe 300 health, and that's more like 800. So important to note that he is a tank buster. You can use him to kill tanks pretty easily. And you should kind of treat him as such. You can even like dash past a tank, bring him back into your team, you're at full rage, and you can just contribute a ton to making sure that that tank dies. It's very hard to heal through too. There's not a lot of healers that would be able to keep up with that unless they have like a shield or an immunity or something like that. The last thing that we're going to go over, this will be a quick guide again. So rage is important. If you're at high rage, this will do more. If you're at no rage, it will do a little bit less. But when you take fatal damage, you will actually get this overshield. So if I step in front of here right here and I take fatal damage, it gives me 160 shield. Since that shield was not consumed by anything, if I took a little bit more damage, it would be less. But since it didn't get consumed or anything like that, it was just the 160, didn't take any extra damage, nothing like that. After a brief delay, I get that back as health. So that is a good way to sustain. That is a passive effect, and it has a 90-second cooldown, so don't count on that saving your life too many times. But every 90 seconds, you're a little bit tankier, so you can commit to a target, you know, stay in there a little bit longer, maybe even like dash out or something like that once that shield procs, and then you will get that little heal up at the end of it. This does shield you for a little bit more based on the amount of rage you have as well. So you can see I was at 0. That was a 260 health shield, as opposed to my first one that was like 160, I believe. So definitely keep your rage high as much as you possibly can, because all of your abilities will either do more damage, they will, you know, heal you for a little bit more, your passive will. Great things to do. So that's Wolverine. Definitely try out this character. I don't think he's particularly good right now, but he's definitely worth trying out, especially when you play around his tank damage a little bit more. You don't need to dive people too far in the back line. You don't need to go too crazy like that. You can. His strength is like disruption and survivability. He's deceptively tanky, so he'll just get in your face, make your life a whole lot more difficult. And then if he just kidnaps a tank like this, brings him over to your team, then you can really just start working down a tank, do a lot of good damage to them, and rock out from there. So if you have any questions, anything like that, if there's anything I missed, please leave those in the comments. You can also see the full breakdown of the percentages on the Marvel Rivals official website. So if you want to go there and see exactly how much damage those will do, go ahead and check those out there. Until the next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.